All right, thanks everyone for joining our awards info session today. We were excited to get our 2020 awards program open for submissions on Wednesday. And so we've had a few changes, a new submission platform and a few category and option changes this year. So we wanted to walk you guys through that. So thanks for joining us today. First off, I'll start by introducing our awards committee. This is the group of people that have been working with me basically every week since January to get the awards program, both our honor and design criteria, categories, and instructions all set to go for you all to submit this year. First, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Megan Concannon. I'm with AIA Colorado. I'm our programs management director. So if you have any questions about the submission process, I'll have my contact information at the end, but feel free to reach out to me. Today we have speaking with us as well, Renee Azerbegi, who is with Ambient Energy, Marisol Foreman, who is with Roland and Broughton, Danielle Nelson, who is this year's chair. Actually, Marisol is our co-chair, but Danielle Nelson, who is with Tribal Architects, and Brent Forjay with Boss Architecture. So yeah, thanks to them for speaking today. And thanks to the rest of the committee for all their work so far. So to kick us off, we opened May 6th, but our submission deadline will be Friday, July 10th at 5:00 p.m. There's not going to be any wiggle room on that this year, so make sure to mark your calendars. We were a little later opening up things than we typically are, thanks to everything that's happened this year. So we don't have any wiggle room on the deadline, so July 10th. The entry fees, same as last year, it's $250 per design award entry. If you are resubmitting because you previously won in a local award and you would like to receive a statewide award, it's $150. The honor awards, as always, are free to submit. And then I'm going to turn it to Danny.
All right, thanks everyone for calling in today. So I'm going to introduce a little bit about the honor awards this year. Megan, if you want to go ahead to the next slide. We did a little work with the honor awards this year. We'll start with the jury. Starting now, moving forward, there's going to be a new structure to this honor awards jury. So I'm going to quickly walk through that and who these people are that are going to be serving on the jury for us. So we're going to have a number of members from the AIA Colorado Board of Directors. So first up, we have 4 members that are the section directors. So for the North, we have Rob Pyatt. For the South, we have Shava Willoughby with RTA Architects. For the West, Director of the West is Sarah Broughton with Roland and Broughton Architects. And in Denver, Ignacio Correa Ortiz with RTD. In addition to these section directors, the AIA Colorado Board President-elect will also be serving on the Honor Awards jury. This is Rachel Johnson with Smith Group. Additionally, we have the AIA Colorado Board At-Large Director, who is Mark Swackhammer with University of Colorado, Denver. And then we also have the AIA Colorado Board Secretary. This, I believe, is a 2-year term, so this person will overlap along with a couple others on the jury here. This is Kaylin Kirby with Semple Brown. So those members right there, they make up, they represent the board for this jury year after year. And then we also have 2 additional members that are going to serve each year on this jury. The previous year's Architect of the Year and the previous year's Young Architect of the Year. So those members for us this year is Bill Moon with Tribal Architects, my boss. It's great. And we're going to have also Kevin Najurian with Regular Architecture, who won Young Architect of the Year last year. So that makes up the jury. As I said, this is a structure we intend to keep moving forward. With each of these members, a lot of these people will change out every year, but we do have a couple of them who will serve 2-year terms. So there will be some consistency on this jury year to year. Next up, I'm going to introduce some changes that we're making to the honor awards. For those of you very familiar with the honor awards, this is going to be very similar to years past. We're not making any significant changes here. We're just doing a little bit of shuffling around, clarifying, consolidating some awards and adding one new one as well. So at a high level, for those of you who are familiar with the honor awards from years past, you will see this year that the leadership award has been removed. It's actually more so reformatted and that has been absorbed into the Architect of the Year and the Young Architect of the Year categories. Additionally, the Innovative Practices Award has also been removed, and similarly, that one has just been absorbed into the Firm of the Year and the Young Firm of the Year categories. So you'll see under the Architect of the Year, Young Architect of the Year, Firm of the Year, and Young Firm of the Year, the language and the criteria for those has shifted slightly to incorporate those other awards. Next thing here, contribution to the built environment by a non-architect. This one has also been removed and has just been reformatted into the President's Award, which you'll see is the 4th bullet point on this list here. This is a new award that we are introducing. So you'll definitely want to spend some time looking at that criteria, but this one's a little bit unique. It is nomination based. So it's not one that you will compile a full package to submit for. Instead, it's more simple nominations, and it's open to architects, non-architects, allied professionals. The goal is really to open this up to many more people, not just our small architecture community. So those are some of the changes. So this slide highlights it pretty well. These are the honor awards that we have in there this year. Architect of the Year, Young Architect of the Year, Associate AIA Member of the Year for non-licensed members of our communities, the President's Award that I just described for the individual awards, and then team awards, we have Firm of the Year, Young Firm of the Year, and the 25-year award. Eligibility for the honor awards. For the individual awards, nominees must be licensed architects in Colorado and members of AIA Colorado. Nominees do not have to be licensed architects to apply for or receive the Associate Architect of the Year award, but they must be AIA Colorado members. For the team awards, eligible firms must have an office located in the state of Colorado, and a principal or principals must be members of AIA Colorado. Nominations may be completed on behalf of an individual or firm that meets these requirements. I'm going to hand it back over to Megan now.
Right, so to start your honor award submission, you'll follow that link, which is also on our website in several different places. And you will create an account and then fill out the information of the person or firm that you're nominating, and then, or your own information. And then for your package that you'll upload for the jury review, you'll include the information listed on this slide. So some biographical data, letters of recommendation, and then some photographs, of course. And then we've also included some EDI and code of ethics things to include this year. So information on how, for example, your firm takes into consideration EDI issues and considers equity in their practice is what we're looking for this year. So there's more information about this online. But then also you'll have to do an intern compensation disclaimer form, a code of ethics disclaimer form that you've read that by AIA National, and then a photo release form for any pictures that you include in your packet. There are extra requirements for Firm of the Year and 25-year awards, but you'll find that all in your information packet. And again, if there are any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. Now we're going to dive into the design awards. So I'm going to start off with some eligibility information. It's the same as previous year, so it shouldn't be any surprises. The project has to have been completed within the last 5 calendar years. So that means it was completed on or after January 1st, 2015. It must be submitted by an AIA Colorado member, firm, or architect in good standing. And then you also have to make sure to give credit to any participating members for that project. So design architect, architect of record, any other people that helped contribute to the project at all. That's extremely important. Projects that have previously received statewide recognition, the AIA Colorado Design Award, cannot resubmit for an award as you've already received the biggest award. But if you were previously awarded a local section award between 2015 and 2019 and have not yet received the statewide award, you are eligible to resubmit again at that $150 price. If you have previously submitted but did not receive an award in prior years and you still meet the 5-year eligibility requirement, you can resubmit starting at the local level. And then again, there is no limit to the number of submissions per eligible architect, member, or firm. So And the submission process, I recommend starting reading through the submission PDF, the submission instructions PDF that we've posted online. And then you can visit the submittable site where we are accepting both our honor and design award submissions this year. And you will create your account, and then you'll begin entering information about the project that you're submitting for. So starting with whether you're submitting for local, so it's the first time you're submitting, or you're submitting again hoping to get an award this year, or you received a local award and you're submitting for a statewide award. Then you'll select the category you're submitting for, fill in all the information about you and your contact information, the project information, and all parties that contributed to the project. And then is your PDF submission packet. And this is what will be reviewed by the jury, and all information you include in here must be completely anonymous. Otherwise, your project could be disqualified. Once that is uploaded, you'll pay your submission fee and press submit. It is possible to save your application as a draft and come back to it later on to finish it. You just have to scroll down to the very bottom of the form, click Save Draft, and then you'll come back and log into your account and be able to continue working on your submission. For the PDF for the jury review, it's similar to what we've asked for in previous years. We're giving you a 17-page word limit this year because we're asking for you to include a page for framework for design excellence narrative. So you have to describe how the project addresses 3 of the 10 measures of the COAT framework for design excellence. You'll learn more about how we're including sustainability in our design awards program this year later on. But we are trying to set you all up to be able to submit for the COAT awards eventually. And we think that every project these days should address sustainability in some fashion. So we're really encouraging that in our design awards this year. Now I will turn it over to Brent to talk about our design awards.
Thanks, Megan. We considered several cities this year for our design jury location, and we finally landed on Austin. They're a similar size to Denver, and there's some really great firms down there doing excellent work. So we spent the past couple months lining up what we think is going to be a really great jury. The members are Arthur Anderson. He's the founder and design director of Anderson Wise. They're an 18-person firm that focuses on residential, public, religious, institutional, and hospitality projects. We also have Christine Freundel, who's the project manager for the city of Austin. She's also the chair of urban design for the AIA Austin community and is a board member for the Alliance for Public Transportation. And she works on redevelopment and master plans for several Austin neighborhoods that focus on sustainability, transit connections, and vibrant communities. We have Heather Gay Holdridge, who's an associate partner and sustainability director at Lake Flato Architects. They have a staff of over 100 people and are a past winner of AIA's Firm of the Year Award. Maya Kreisman is a managing partner at Michael Shue Office of Architecture. They're an award-winning firm that does mixed-use development, commercial interiors, and residential work. They have about 50 people in 2 different offices, and she oversees strategic visioning, operations, marketing, and business development. Miguel Rivera is a co-founder of Miro Rivera Architects. They're a 12-person firm, and they focus on educational, institutional, sports recreation, and residential work. And they won the Texas Society of Architects Firm of the Year Award in 2016. Nicole Weideman is an associate professor at the University of Texas, Austin. She's taught design studios there since 1997. And her research projects include examining the resiliency of cities. She's also a registered architect and maintains her own small architecture practice. And finally, we have Brad Wilkins. He's a design principal at the Austin office of Perkins & Will. He's also previously worked at Gensler, Adrian Smith and Gordon Gill Architecture, and SOM. And in his career, he's worked in over 20 different countries. He's a fellow of the Emerging Leaders in Environmental and Energy Policy program, and was among the first 2% of LEED accredited design professionals in the world. So we're excited about this jury. We think we've gotten a really diverse group of people who come from a variety of practice types and with different areas of expertise. And we're looking forward to sharing the excellent work of Colorado architects with them. The jury criteria that we'll share with them is that jurors will consider each submittal holistically, including but not limited to the following: physical organization and form, including attention to composition and detail, response to program, site, geographic, and/or urban context, innovation and originality in concept, process, materials, building systems, and/or implementation, and demonstration of exemplary environmental and social awareness.
Thank you, Brian. So this year, our award categories are the same as last year, except for one new one. So we have new construction, renovation, interior architecture, unbuilt forward, architectural detail, and regional design and planning. And those haven't changed from last year. Our new category this year focuses on sustainability. We're very excited to roll that out this year. We looked into several different award categories, awards from different AIA chapters, and tried to narrow it down to something that will help all of our submitters further submit their projects for the AIA and Committee on the Environment's COAT Awards. So the one that we had chosen, we'll go through the Excel file after this. It really focuses on those 10 measures that the COAT Award focuses on. This is an add-on category. So if you submit for any other categories, you have the option to download this Excel file, click on the form whether or not you're going to submit for this. And the best part is it's free. So you can download, fill out the form, and be submitted for this category. So we have 10 different measures that we're asking people to submit for. You must achieve at least 3 of the measures. That's one of the big points. Every measure has an area that you can fill out a narrative as well. And the project has to be submitted for another category. You can't just submit this one for the sustainability category. Let's see, do we want to show hop into the Excel file?
Oh, actually, Megan, if you could unshare, Zoom is telling me you have to unshare your screen so I can share mine.
And while we're getting this up, we should also clarify that this one will be awarded with the same award levels as all the other different categories. So there isn't just one award for this. It's at the discretion of the jury, same as the other categories. So what we have decided to use came from AIA San Antonio, sorry. And it's called the Common App for Design Excellence. And to clarify, it's not an actual app that you have on your phone. It's an Excel spreadsheet that you will fill out. This is what it looks like up at the top. And you can see over on the right-hand side, there is a spider graph. And this takes information from the Excel file and starts to fill out how well you're performing in each of these different measures. So it's great for the jury. They get a snapshot of how this particular project has performed. The further out the bullet point goes, the better it's performing. The closer into the center it is, the worse it was performing. There is also a link to the COAT Top 10 Toolkit, which is a very much more in-depth spreadsheet that goes over all the different 10 measures, but this is much more condensed than that. So if you scroll down to the first bit, we will ask for some project information. We fill this out for a sample project just for the There is some information though that we'd like for you to fill out that comes into play later on that you might not want to have shown in your award submission. So there are 2 boxes under the construction cost and the client name where you can click the box and it turns it confidential. So when you submit this, it's not something that is submitted and the award jury is able to see. So this asks for basic information. It has some helpful links if you're not quite sure what your climate zone is. There are links for your climate zone map. different benchmarks, and it just asks for basic project information. And then I'll let Renee take over going through the first few.
Sure. So I just wanted to add that I was interested in joining this committee because I've gone to a lot of AIA award ceremonies and conferences, and also submitted some AIA COAT awards. So AIA COAT, if you're not familiar with that, there's only 10 projects a year nationwide that get submitted. And Colorado hasn't been doing that great. It hasn't had that many AIA COAT award winners. And I think part of the problem is we don't have a local competition. And when we did our research, we found that a lot of other states do have a local competition before they submit for AIA COAT. And I think that would maybe help. And that's one of the reasons that we designed this. We didn't design this. We actually started designing our own thing, and then we found out about this app, which has already got a lot of the things in it that we wanted. So we've worked with San Antonio to develop this to make it more Colorado specific for us. But Colorado's the #1 in terms of lead projects by square footage per person, #1 in the country. And we just haven't been doing as good on the AIA COAT. So hoping that this will generate some more interest in pursuing the national competition for AIA COAT awards. Anyway, so we've entered in a sample project, one that I'm familiar with. So I'm going to go through and walk you through the 10 different categories. As Marisol said, you have to pick 3 at a minimum. If you want to pick all of them, of course, that's going to show up better with the jury competition, but 3 would be the minimum. So this is a typical project. Some of the base benchmarks are kind of, I'm still trying to get some clarification on that one, on the benchmarks, but so this is saying like indicate the benchmark using BOMA 2016, but that, just ignore that for now. I'm not sure that that's super relevant. We'll see if we can get the reference link to it because I couldn't find it. And then annual operations, hours of operation. So a typical office, actually I should probably say 2060, is 2060 hours a year if they're 40 hours a week. And then you just enter in daily average occupancy, peak occupancy. And then there's questions about, your firm. Are you joining the AIA? Are you a member of the AIA 2030 commitment? There was a talk just yesterday, I think, with that AIA Colorado sponsored as a session about that. And if so, have you put your information in there? There's a lot of different rating systems out there. And so knowing what you're submitting for different rating systems, we don't have every level of rating system. We only have levels for lead, just because there's so many out there. But this particular project's pursuing a lead platinum. It didn't get it yet, but it's going to this year. So I thought I'd be comfortable to say that. Now the word counts, don't be fearful of the word counts. We say 250 words and 500 words. That's a lot of words. But really, if you could just, bullet point, because these are juries that don't have a lot of time. So just bullet point the features that you want to talk about in under each section. And some of these sections, like measure 1, for example, it doesn't actually feed up to above. The more metric-based ones feed up to the graphic above. I think the graphic has maybe 8 categories of the 10 that, because these aren't really things that you can really quantify and measure. So measure 1 is not one of the spider graphic ones, but it's just putting a narrative about what you've done. Measure 2, design for equitable communities. It's really easy to get a walk score, transit score, bike score. You just click on the first link, you put in the address of your site, and it gives you all 3 of those. So that's pretty easy to do. And then community engagement level. Did you engage the community at all in, why isn't the link working? There we go. Did you engage the community involved at all? How much was the community engaged, or just stakeholders and not just the owner engaged? So you do better. And this is actually the different things change that spider graphic. This is one that changes the spider graphic for this category. And you can play around with it a little bit. I don't know what all of them are that change the graphic, but it's just kind of fun to play around with it. So design for ecology, this would be where you would write anything specific. I would just say bulletize anything specific about your site, especially if it's not already down below. Like for example, green roof is not below. So you definitely would want to point that out here. And then there's different categories for your site in terms of urban, suburban, rural. Is it previously developed or not? Was stormwater managed? Is landscape design focused on native plants, say for 75% or more? Does it promote biodiversity? Some of these questions are a little bit vague and hard to define, but just do your best in terms of answering the question as honestly as you can. Design for water, identify, just a brief summary of major water initiatives and talk about, now we can't do a lot of this stuff in Colorado yet, right? So this project didn't score very well on water because a lot of these things we can't do, but it's still like pushing the envelope for coming up with things that maybe you should be considering. And not all of these things that are on here are exactly identical to the AIA super spreadsheet. If you decide to pursue an AIA COAT award, you should download what's called the AIA COAT super spreadsheet and understand what kind of metrics they're really going to be looking at. This is a minor subset, a very minor subset of all the things that the AIA super spreadsheet needs for a national award. And the intent of this award is to make it easy to fill out. So there's a lot of yes and no type questions that can be filled out quite easily. Design for economy. This actually is just talking about how does the project incorporate economy and have a narrative around that. So like building efficiency is an example of that. It already automatically populates that. So you don't even have to do that as long as you put the square footage and the occupancy count. It'll do that for you. I don't believe this is one that is also calculated in the spider graphic. So this is about efficiency and economy. Design for energy, there's a lot here, but it depends on what you're doing. It's not really clarified, but we would like you to put, so if you're using the prescriptive performance path or the model performance or measured, it's a little unclear, but we would like you to put your window to wall ratio and your lighting power density, which you should have if you have the modeled or the prescriptive data. And then for this example, this was a project that has already had a energy model done, but it doesn't have the measured data. So if you saw that, if you noticed that spider graphic, we did very poorly in measured performance because we don't have any to put in yet. And that's okay. Not everybody will. And some will just have the prescriptive performance. But this was doing, so the benchmark, I should show you, the benchmark, it didn't come up in the default. So we had to go and look it up under the zero benchmarking tool. So I'm going to show you that. It's right here. And it takes you to this tool. So you just go to the zero tool. Oh, of course it can't be displayed. Maybe because I'm in a, let's see if that works. Okay, so you put your building name in, your city, your state. It automatically populates the heating and cooling degree days and the heating degree days and the cooling degree days. Same as new construction or existing, commercial or residential. What's the primary usage? Pretty easy. Did you have a % reduction you were targeting or zero score? It doesn't matter. You just put in whatever in there. All you're interested in is getting the baseline. So after you put in that basic information, it will generate a benchmark score for you to plug into the tool. So that's where I got the 101 right here from that tool, just putting some basic information. And then put the energy code that you have, and it'll tell you if how much you reduced from baseline and if you met the 2030 challenge or not through the defaults that it has programmed in it. And did you use modeling to perform informed design? And then for wellness, there's certain things you can add about wellness in terms of a narrative. Also, if you did an occupant satisfaction survey, that's helpful. And then enter in if you have regularly occupied spaces, if most of them have operable windows, and if they have abundant daylight. I would say, is it yes or no? It's probably like if the majority do, then you would put yes. But there's no metrics in there because they're trying to make this tool really simple to use. The goal with this tool is actually for AIA to adopt it nationwide, and it might be a national tool coming up here pretty soon. I know they're working on it. So now Marisol's going to do the last 3 categories.
Yeah, thanks, Renee. One other thing to mention as well is there is a lot working behind the scenes in this spreadsheet. So if you see a box that's gray, that's typically an area that you can add in, input your own information. And all of the boxes that are white are typically fields that will be auto-populated based off of the information that you put in above. So with these, again, other drop-down menus, what is your primary structural system? And then this goes into the building embodied carbon. There's another link, the one you can see over there, the buildcarbonneutral.org, and that takes you to another website that you fill in some of the information that you've already put in up above in the project information. And then you can add a little bit more information about where the project is, about the vegetation, about the landscape disturbance and how much was installed. Hit calculate and it pops out a number that you can then re-input back into the Excel spreadsheet.
I would add, do the best you can on these categories. They're a little weird. Like, yeah. Which one of these do you have?
The map, there is a little link for a map as well that you can click on to get a better idea of where you are in that.
Right.
So once you get that information, you put it in here. It was the 5120. And then it puts out your building embodied carbon per square foot. And then as it goes down, it asks about a life cycle analysis, if that was conducted. It goes into local and recycled material selection. Chemicals of concern list is something that AIA is adopting, and it encompasses all the different material. So the red list, I know Perkins and Will has their own one, and it's just asking, was this something that you considered while making material choices? There is a link there that you can click on and it takes you to kind of an overall information page. But really we want to know if you used any sort of list to determine your material choices. And then asking if the construction waste was diverted, and it says a majority of the construction waste. Again, some of these questions are yes, no. We're not asking you to go through and give us very specific metrics. So the COAT spreadsheet definitely will ask you for that if you go further into that, but this one is more basic with yes, no. So use your best judgment when you're filling these out. And then again, another text box here to give a little bit more insight onto what innovative design features were involved if it's something that wasn't listed. Measure 9 then is design for change. And this really asks you to describe your resiliency strategies with the text box there, asking about the design lifespan of the building and if it was designed for disassembly and or with a flexible future use. And with all of these, since they're not quite as well known, all the 10 different measures, we have tried to give you a good narrative descriptor over on the right-hand side in gray for each of these. So you can follow those to get an idea of what type of information you should be inputting. And then the last measure is measure 10, and that's designed for discovery. Post-occupancy comfort surveys, air quality testing, utility data. It's pretty vast, but if any of these were things that you considered in the design of your building, this would be an area to tell more about it. And then asking if there was a post-occupancy evaluation conducted. And that metric is, I believe that's up in the spider graph up above. So then once you've gone through these, if you're able to do, we're asking for a minimum of 3. If you can fill out all 10, even if they weren't areas that you've considered in the design of your project, that's all the better for it. We will be looking through all the 10 different measures. So as much information as you can give us, that would be great.
Great. So as you can see, this committee has been super hard at work. This was a big undertaking this year, and we're really excited to launch it this year. And so hopefully you all will submit for the sustainability category. I'm going to share my screen again. So yeah, this is going to be a process. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions as you're filling that out. We will do our best to answer. We will answer. So we're going to end with some tips for a successful submission. We reached out to Nicole Kinsler, who's with CCY Architects, which is an award-winning firm. They won a couple awards last year, and she has some tips for how to best put together a successful submission. So first, she started with photography. She said, great photography is worth the investment. Follow the submission guidelines. I like this one. Double check that you've answered all the questions and shown what is being asked for in the guidelines. Research the award jury members. So we'll get this list posted online. It's not quite there yet, but know your audience and submit your projects accordingly. And then finally, she concluded with graphics and overall layout. So just keep in mind that our jury members, last year we had 160 submissions. They're going through a lot of submissions. So you need to make sure that your information is to the point and also just easy for them to see what you're trying to convey. Ask yourself what makes this project special and what do you want the jurors to take away from your submission. So we will post these slides online as well, so you'll be able to access them later. But if anyone has any questions now, we are also happy to, we're also happy to take any questions. And you can do that via the Q&A feature of Zoom at the bottom of your screen. And you can type in your questions in there or in the chat, and we'll hang out and see if you guys have any questions. You can also email me at that email address as you start your submission. While we're sitting in silence, I'll just once again thank our committee members today for speaking, as well as the whole full committee that has just, again, done so much work. And we've had a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions, and we're really proud of the awards program we have this year. But that is our presentation. So if you don't have any questions, feel free to log off, but otherwise, we'll hang out for a little bit. Oh, here we go. That's the best part about Zoom, is that we've got some kittens joining. Marisol's kitten is taking any questions you may have.
Yeah, she's being very active.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marisol, where was that earlier? Come on.
Let's try to get her sleep earlier.
Well, I think we did a good job. Maybe we can call it a day. And if anyone does have any questions, again, my email is there and it's online, and our instructions are, oh, never mind. So the question came in, curious what the design conference and awards gala look like. We're working on that with our board, and we'll have an announcement about that shortly. That's definitely, with the questions about a virtual gala, it's definitely on our mind. We haven't made any hasty decisions yet, but obviously things are a little bit different this year. We felt it was important to host an awards program this year, especially for if you're trying to promote your firms during this time. So no matter what, there will be an awards announcement. What it actually looks like, we can't say just yet, but we will keep everyone updated as we know.
Megan, I know this is putting you on the spot a little bit, but have you heard from our design award jury to know if they're planning to all stay virtual throughout the review process?
Oh yeah, actually in my initial reach out, it was, I've asked them to do a virtual deliberation this year,
Got it.
which we all know is possible now, thanks to being forced into it. Because they're going to be meeting end of July. So I think it's a little soon maybe to ask people to meet in person.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll call it then. Thanks, Jason, for asking a question. Thanks, everyone. Have a good Friday.